Hello, good morning viewers. Let us talk about equivalent fractions. What are equivalent fractions and how can we identify whether two or more fractions are said to be equivalent? Two or more fractions are said to be equivalent if they have exactly the same value. But how can we figure out? Number one, if you reduce any two or more fractions to their lowest term, if at all they are equivalent, they will be the same. Number two, the ratio of their corresponding numerator to that of their denominator is also equal or is exactly the same. And last but not the least, if you reduce them to decimal numbers, they will be exactly the same. So first we have two fractions, 2 over 4 and maybe 6 over 12. We say these two fractions are equivalent because the ratios of their corresponding numerator to that of their denominator is also the same. Look at this number here, 4, which is our denominator. 4 is 2 times our numerator, which is 2. Look at this, 12. 12 is 2 times more than our numerator, which is also 6. Therefore, they are equivalent. So you can see the ratio of numerator to that of the denominator of the two fractions is exactly the same. This is number one. Number two, if we reduce these fractions to their lowest term, they will be exactly the same. 2 can go into 2 one time. 2 can go into 4 2 times. 6 can go into 6 one time. And 6 can go into 12 2 times. You can see to their lowest term, they're exactly the same. And last but not the least, if you transform them to decimal numbers, they will also be exactly the same because this is 0.5, this is also 0.5. And hence we say these two fractions are equivalent. Let us consider 4 cycles. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3, and we have 4. Let us divide this one by 2. Let us divide this one like this by 4. Let us divide this one . So let us shade half of these cycles. Let me shade this side. Let me shade this side. Let me shade this side. And let me shade this side. Now, if we are to represent these shaded parts in fraction, you can see this one is just 1 out of 2. This is, to get all together, there are 4, but we have shaded 2 parts out of 4. So we have 2 out of 4 here. Here we have partitioned the cycle into 6 and we have shaded 3 out of the 6. Here we have partitioned the cycle into 8 parts, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4 as shaded. We have 4 out of 8. But if you look at these fractions, all the 4 fractions are said to be equivalent because they have exactly the same ratio. 2 here is 2 times the numerator, which is 1. 4 here is 2 times the numerator. 6 is 2 times the numerator because 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. Therefore, all these fractions are said to be equivalent. And if you divide this by 2, you obtain this. This divided by 2 equals this. This divided by 2 equals this. This divided by 2 is also equal to this. This is another way to find out whether they are equivalent or not. If you reduce them to their lowest terms, you're going to obtain 1 over 2. And if you transform them to decimal numbers, you shall obtain 0.5. And hence we say they are equivalent. Another way to obtain equivalent fractions is this. If you have 1 over 2, and you want to find another fraction that is equivalent to this, you can multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number to obtain another equivalent fraction. If you multiply numerator by 3, maybe 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, this and this are equivalent. And you can even write equal to, because they are equal to one another. If you multiply 3 by 4, you shall obtain 12. If you multiply 6 by 4, you shall obtain 24. And the 12 over 24 is exactly the same as 1 over 2. Now let us do something. If you divide, let us use division. If you divide 12 by 6, you shall obtain 2. If you divide 24 by 6, you should obtain 4. And all these fractions are said to be equivalent. So you can use either multiplication or division to obtain other equivalent fractions, but do not use plus or minus, because you get a different result. Example, if I have 4 over 5, if you subtract 1 here, you will obtain 3. If you subtract 1 here, you will obtain 4. But these are not equivalent. They are never equivalent. If you add 1 to this number, you will obtain 5. If you add 1 to this number, you obtain 6. This and this are not the same. But if you use multiplication or division of numerator and denominator with exactly the same number, whatever fraction you obtain will be equivalent to the initial one. You can equally divide this by 2, you will obtain 1. Divide this by 2, you will obtain 2. All these ones are said to be equivalent. So this is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Do have a nice day.